get this rolling. And then,
I'm picking all that up later on.
Not too bad. You'd be surprised. It actually ends up cutting out a lot because of where the mic is at.
Okay. Should I put it up some more?
No, you good. You good. Don't worry about it. And, worst comes to worst, like I said, I can make it work. All right. So, peace. This is the Ask Your Old Head podcast with Justice Reggie. I'm here with my good friend and my barber, full disclosure, my man Art Williams, and we're going to get started. So, Art, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Justice. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Let me say that one more time. How you doing today?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah, say how you doing again. I'll make sure I got it.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm feeling great, actually. So the way I do this, and the thing I always like to start with, is giving you an opportunity to shout out or just give props to somebody that's been a support or someone that gave you some guidance in your own time. Because my essential belief is that none of us get through this alone. No one gets to wherever they are in life totally just because they're so magical that they do it by themselves. So reverence and giving some props to people, so they can smell their roses while they're still here is an important thing. So is anybody you just want to shout out or say peace to?
Man, it's so many people that have influenced my life in a positive way. But I mean, most recently, I would definitely like to say my dad. I was 25 years old before I actually began a relationship with my dad. And so just kind of having father-son conversations, kind of catching up on conversations, man. I'm learning a lot about myself just through having conversations with him. Robert Prince has been a guy that's influenced my life immensely when it comes to just being a family man, being a father, and also being a football coach. He kind of has been the influential piece that has gotten me into coaching football and giving back to the community that way.
Indeed. So I'm just going to get into my standard set of questions. So my first one, like I said, I like to try to capture something that, simple that someone that's listening could take and try to apply to their lives. So is there a standard or a practice that you hold yourself to, something, that you do maybe on a regular basis or just a part of the way you operate as a man in the world that you do, and how did you learn that or come to adopt that practice?
I believe in the principle of treating others how you want to be treated. I believe that to the core of my being, just because I know what it feels like to be mistreated. I know what it feels like to not to be overlooked, to not be included in things. And so I try to live my life according to that principle of just being nice, being open, being vulnerable with people. And I teach my kids to do the same thing. I think in society today, we're taught not to trust people, period, which, I don't disagree with, but I think that if I, being the person I am, want to be trusted, then I need to be able to trust other people as well. So I think that principle has shaped my life, probably more now as an adult, not so much when I was an adolescent or just even in my 20s probably, but now in my late 30s, almost 40s, I've really embraced that principle. Probably around the age of 32 is when I start to embrace that principle.
That's peace. My next piece would be, can you share just like something that you learned about relationships, and that being broadly defined, interpersonal relationships, between friends, romantic relationships, however you see it, that you've learned that maybe you got wrong in the past?
Yeah, I think I've gotten wrong in the past is that I wouldn't let anybody in. Mm-hmm. I would keep. I built this wall, and in building this wall, I realized that I not only kept people out, I kept myself from getting out. So I almost imprisoned myself by building this wall. And once I actually, I'm going to have to say once I got married is when I began to just kind of let that wall down. And then understand that in order for me to have healthy relationships, I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now, but in order to have healthy relationships, I knew I had to be open to allowing somebody into my life if they're going to allow me to in their lives.
Indeed, that's, I would say just to share similar in terms of you don't realize sometimes that your perception that someone else may not be letting you be a part of something or be connected with them is maybe a reaction to how much you're holding back. I mean, that's something that I've learned in my own relationships where I'm like, I don't think I'm all the way invested in this. Like I thought I was. Like I thought I'm all the way in. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm being a little bit, deceiving myself. You know, so I can empathize with that. Let me see. Is there something that maybe that now that you would, given the opportunity, want to share with young people that maybe if you knew that earlier, you would have done some things differently or anything like that
there's so much. There's so much. One of the things I tell especially young men, because we live in a day and time where being sexually promiscuous is like a cool thing to do. I always tell young men that the piece of advice my uncle gave me one time, and he said to me, nephew, don't suck up all your youth having sex with so many different women. And at the time, I didn't understand it. I'm a young man. I'm like, man, I'm having fun. The world says I should do this, and this is cool. Not knowing that at some point, I was going to finally get married to a woman that I wanted to invest everything I had in. Not knowing that at some point, I will have children, and if I don't balance this thing out and start making better choices, that there will be some possible repercussions that will happen. And so not until I was 30 years old when I got married did I understand what my uncle meant when he said sucking up your youth, because now you've given so much of yourself, a little bit of yourself, to every single person that you've been with, emotionally and physically, that you have barely anything to give to the person that you said I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
Indeed. That's interesting how we get stuff like that sometimes. Because one that I always remember in a similar vein, this is more in friend relationships. My grandfather told me when I was real young, and he told me, only get 2 or 3 like super tight friends. Like you can have some other acquaintances, other people you hang out with, but don't ever like deceive yourself to think that like 15 people are like your number one. You can tell them everything, share all your innermost feelings or whatever. Just like keep a tight circle. You know what I mean? And so them little pieces and nuggets of wisdom is allowing you like, whatever, pops. You know what I'm saying? Love you, but I'm hanging out. Like these are all my buddies. You know what I'm saying? And then some things happen and you learn otherwise. But definitely on that sharing tip, I think a lot of young people, when it comes to the sexual activity, don't go into it with a full understanding of how that affects you emotionally, like how how you feel about people. I think later you learn, you're like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did that. I know from speaking for my own self, and you're like, whew, dodged the bullet on that one. Maybe glad I didn't partake in that particular opportunity. It might have turned out wrong.
It takes a lot. I think it takes a lot out of you. We don't understand it at first because we think it's all fun and games, but it teaches you a whole bunch of negative stuff, and I think the one thing it teaches you more than anything is to disrespect women from a male standpoint and a female standpoint as well. It teaches them if you got a female that's promiscuous, it teaches her that to not respect herself. And then she ends up not respecting men as well. And so we end up in this triangle of just bad relationships, or this circle of bad relationships all across the board, not just friend relationships, but love relationships and all kind of stuff.
Indeed. It gets to be, my experience with it is sometimes, I mean, as it's been played out, is that often we don't know, like people could be highly functioning in maybe all their other areas of life, but then they get to those relationships and the way they deal with, you know, those urges. That's like, oh, you said that to who? That was a business meeting. Like, you really did that? Like, you know what I'm saying? But that sometimes it's from that tree of, well, you know, any time is a good time, and any one is the right one. It's like, well, maybe not. You know what I mean? But peace. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna make a little shift, just to ask you, because I know, you know, as I said earlier, you are my barber, and I've been coming to the shop, and I was thinking about this morning. I was like, well, how long is the shop? Champions, which is up on MLK here in Portland. If you're in Portland and you need a haircut, you know, come through. Art might not be available, but there may be someone else there that can help you out. You know, Art, you got a schedule. You know what I'm saying? But how long has the shop been open?
In October, we would have been open 8 years, actually, in October.
How's it feel being a business owner this time?
It's hard, especially in this business. It's easy to open a barbershop or a beauty salon if you just want to have something that, if you just want to get something open and call yourself a small business person. The hard part is managing people, making sure the right people are in the shop, making sure everybody gels together. Doesn't always happen. You know, there can be high turnover in this business just because everybody doesn't always fit. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it a whole different way. But nonetheless, we're still open. We're still servicing the community. I feel like we're still making a positive contribution to our community and the people around us.
Indeed. Well, I love the shop, and it's a good place to come, so I want to make sure we highlight that. I'm going to do maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah.
All right. One is just one be, our closeout will be a little more lighthearted, but this will be kind of the more last heavy one. What is the most important thing going on in your life right now?
Well, man, I got a 5-month-old kid. I got a 5-month-old son, which has changed my whole perception of fatherhood. I thought I was understanding fatherhood with my daughter, who is actually 5 years old. But when you got a son, when a son is brought into the picture, it's like a whole nother shift. Not in a bad way, but for me, I'm a very sensitive and emotional kind of person. So for me, it's just been when I hold my son in my arms and my hands, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, man, this literally is a legacy continuing. You know, the legacy still continues with my daughter too, but she gets to change her last name, but my son gets to pass the last name on. And I think that has affected me the most, and even in the fact giving my son my name. I came into it kind of thinking that I wanted my son to have his own name so he can create his own identity and be his own person. Because I grew up, like I told you earlier, I didn't have a relationship with my dad until I was 25. And so I used to ask my mom all the time, like, why would you name me after somebody I don't even know? You know, and but, you know, once I hit 18, I never changed my name. And so in the process of even thinking what to name my son, me and my wife sitting down with a bunch of names, I just remember thinking that I didn't want to do that to my kid because my dad wasn't there for me, and I don't blame him for it. You know, he was young. And I didn't want my kid to grow up thinking, like, dang, why do I have my dad's last name or whatever, over my dad's name? But ultimately, sitting down with my wife talking about it, and this is what affected me the most. She goes, the difference between you and your dad is that you'll be there. So to give your son your name means that and you'll be there with him throughout the whole time he was growing up. So I mean, that all happened, 5 months ago, but it's still impacting me today. Every time I look at my son, every time I look at my kids, I'm like, man, God blessed me to be able to, and he trusts me enough to raise these kids. So I don't know, man. I mean, God probably trusts me more than I trust him sometimes. So.
That's peace. Yeah, I think if I could just very well pull from that something similar. When I got 2 kids as well, as you know. And I had the opposite order. I had a son first, then I had a daughter. Mm-hmm. So, and I in my mind, I always knew I was going to have a son first. Now I don't know if that just was really like, if I really knew that, or if I just was like the odds and the numbers worked out, and that's just how it happened, right? But when I thought about, because I grew up without my father due to my father passing when I was really young, but the idea that you have that this person is going to be kind of like you in the future. However, also you want them to be their own person, but then you also want to make sure that they're they're a good dude, they're a good man, and that feeling wanting to be present. I always wonder what the feeling sometimes they will have where they're worried about being present. But for me, the overwhelming feeling of that's me, that's my person, that's me, and he's alive. I don't know, it always overwhelmed whatever other fear there was about it. It's kind of well, I might not know what's about to happen, but I love this little tiny ball of happiness. And looking at me, making eyeballs and stuff, and it's just I know the feeling, so I'm with you on that, man. I salute you. Cool. So I'm gonna wrap up with this, and it's a simple thing I like to ask, just for the culture. Mm-hmm. In terms of you want a movie question or a music question?
That's a good one. I probably can speak more to the movies than I can.
Cool. So just give me a movie or two that you enjoy watching, kind of no matter the circumstances. You just come home and if it's on, you might be like, I'm about to watch this.
Oh, yeah. 300, I don't know. I mean, I look at that movie and I just see so much. It's a fictitious rendition. Yeah. But I feel like there's underlying messages that come across in that movie, and determination is one of them. The fact that I'm big on community, and the fact that King Leonidas took 300 men out of 10,000. He took 300, and those 300 people worked together as a unit to protect the person to their left. Right. And it was one of those things where I think about the importance of another person, the importance of my life. This life I call my own. It's not really my own. I live my life as best as I can in hopes that it would influence someone else to live their life as best as they can. Mm-hmm. And I think that movie showed me. I mean, it's one of my. I would watch that movie at any time. I skip a few scenes, but just the fact that there was a part in there where he says we work as one unpenetratable unit. Every man protects the man to his left, and so to me, it's I'm giving up myself, which first of all, I'm trusting the guy on my right to protect me and I'm trusting him.
He's trusting me to hold him down, and then we all gonna be through it together.
And so that's kind of what I see, man. I love it.
That's peace. Thank you. Well, that's it. I thank you, Art, for sharing with me. And again, champions. I'll put the address for champions. If you're in Portland and need a haircut, I'll put it on the notes when the show posts, so folks will come find you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No problem. Peace.